How'd your XCOM game go?
Uh, XCOM is fantastic. I really enjoy that game series. Honestly, it's one of my favorites.
Is it for you one of those kind of like Civ? Just one more turn. Just one more turn.
Yeah. So I mean, Civ. I'm not super familiar with. Like, I don't play a lot of big strategy games. Like XCOM's got like some higher level strategy type stuff, but it's pretty minimal. It's mostly about the tactical combat.
Right.
Um, but I mean, there's a level of like base building and like planning for ahead uh, outside of that, and you kind of go through these phases where you are not in combat, so you're like deciding where to spend your time at, whether like what base you're at. You can generate like intelligence, which is a currency in the game, or you can make your soldiers heal faster, because after a combat session, anybody that took significant damage is unable to participate in fights for like a week or two, which doesn't it's not all that long really. They might need to skip like one major battle or something.
Right.
But you can spend time at one place that helps you like heal faster, or you can spend time at another place that helps you build your facilities faster. And then you unlock research projects and stuff, and you're deciding like what to prioritize in there, as well as like how to spend your currencies and figuring out, do I want to like progress the story, or do I want to upgrade like my weapons in this area first, or things like that. And that's kind of fun to do.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
I've only played the first one on single player once for a little bit. I've only mostly just played the multiplayer thing with my brother.
Yeah. The multiplayer is, I think, more of a what's the word for it? Like a novelty.
Right.
It's really aimed around the single player gameplay.
My brother likes the tactical stuff a lot, and so do I, but my brother's one of those people that he's not going to go easy on you while you're trying to learn.
Oh.
So, yeah, it was kind of frustrating a little bit at first, but once I started getting it, it was really fun. And then I turned on the one-player version because, okay, this is cool, I want to check it out. And like every other one-player game I have, whenever I start to sit and do something that I have to spend some time to figure out, I start feeling guilty that I'm not using my time.
Right. You told me you don't like playing single-player games because you feel like you're not spending time with other people when you could be.
Yeah, or not doing something more constructive like drawing or...
See. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just I get such a big like serotonin dip from like flawlessly executing a mission that it's hard for me to feel bad about it.
Well, and that's
the
thing is I don't want to feel bad about it. It's
right.
It's not voluntary, and I don't like judge
other people
who do it. It's just like I start playing, and I'm like, I should be doing something else, or I should get up.
Right.
And
I wish I had a little bit of that.
I used to feel that way when I would do my artwork too, but now that I've decided that, for lack of a better term, I'm trying to actually level up to be able to make some income out of it, at least.
Right. Yeah, man, I think certainly at your level even, I think you could get, like, illustration jobs, for... I keep going storybook, and I don't know if that, like, bothers you, that I'm trying to, like, typecast you into that. I just think your art in, like, a storybook setting...
No, that's actually probably what I'm going to go for first, is...
Yeah.
I want to maybe... very first, I probably am just so that I get used to learning how to work with customers. I'm going to try to just do a little on the side, hey, let me illustrate your D&D character or something like that. But when I actually start to try to make money at it, I think storybooks are where I'm going.
I think you're pretty much good to go for that part. Honestly, you would do fantastic. I mean, you definitely have a particular art style. You'd have to find people that are looking for that specifically. But I think anybody that likes your art, like, would love their character drawn.
Right. I think it's funny that I have a particular style because it's something that where you see a lot of people, like when you watch the YouTube videos and stuff, they're constantly getting questions about how do you develop your style, and for the longest time, have been trying to avoid developing a style. Hey, I want to be as, flexible and do whatever I want to do. But then I get so many people telling me, "Oh yeah, I can look at a piece of work and say that's yours."
Yeah, I don't think it's a thing that happens naturally. It's just like your muscle memory, right? You got the characters with the big, chunky, rectangular fingers and like the long, skinny limbs connected to like the bulkier body bits. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I always try to do that, but when I'm in the middle of drawing, it's that middle of the drawing phase where I'm like, oh, that doesn't look right at all. It'll never look good at this point. Can't force myself past it. Which I know is a fallacy. Like, obviously, once you get past it and you get used to like the image, like this is what it is. It'll look good at that point.
Right. That's another amazing thing that I'm just recently figuring out, that when there's something that's new that I don't like very much or that makes me feel awkward, that like you just said, is give it a few minutes. You don't even have to change anything. You'll adjust,
right.
and your vision will kind of see a little bit better what it is that you were trying to do.
Yeah, when I'm doing my abstracts, I hit that a lot, and sometimes, especially with the bigger ones, I will just drop it for the day, come back and look at it the next day, and usually like it more.
I had that I haven't done my watercolor in a bit, but have that issue with the watercolor. You always get to this stage where it looks like, okay, I've ruined this, let's throw it away. And instead of throwing it away, I've come to, okay, let's walk away for a day or two, and then we'll come back to it, and when we look at it, we'll be like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I was going for.
Doing another one of these stupid sketchbooks. I gave up on the one I was doing with the jellyfish thing. Well, I don't know if I have a picture in there, didn't I? And I went sort of like back to like here, I forgot I can just do this in Discord with my phone. Let's see how I get to just our chat. Boom, boom. Pictures. I tried to go with just like a more standard, like my type of abstract, and it feels comfy, feels homey there, but I'm still like hitting that sort of like dead end feeling with it.
Well, you really shouldn't. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. In fact, I like that as much as I like most of your abstracts. That's neat.
Thank you. Yeah, I like the way
I wouldn't want to get near it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You had some sort of eldritch horror monster waiting to devour you.
So we had another storm blow in last night. It was nowhere near like the other one, but
oh yeah, we had it too. It must have been all over.
For us, it was just a ton of wind and
we had
a little bit of rain.
Downpour.
But and when I say a little bit of rain, I mean compared to the deluge that we ended up getting before. But
right.
So it was about a normal rain, but the wind, I mean, we just walked the dogs this morning, and everybody's trash cans and everything's just strewn all over the place.
That's a good point. I didn't think to go out and look at my trash can. Do that.
Yeah. The news said that the wind got up to 90.
Damn.
In gusts, at least.
Right. Even still, that's enough to knock you over.
I always imagined when I was a little kid when we'd have windstorms, what if I went out there with like a big piece of plywood or cardboard like a sail? Would it pick me up and take me away?
It might when you're a kid.
Well, I don't think a kid's hamstring's going to be enough to hold on to that piece
Oh,
of.
that's true. Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, if you tied it to a kid, I think it most definitely would. Wind's a lot more powerful than I thought it was when I was young. Or I'll say younger, just to be kind to myself.
Oh man, we're all there. I've been putting on a lot of weight, honestly. Probably 10 pounds or something over the last few months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my gut's as big as it's ever been for sure. I need to.
How long have you been taking the new medications?
I don't know, like 3 months or so, maybe less than that.
Yeah, I put money it's related. A lot of times when you get the meds that actually start working the way you seem to feel with this one, weight gain is one of the things that comes along with it.
Yeah, I mean, I started getting weight even with the Zoloft. I think I started getting hungry like all the time, like in the wake up and eat, junk food or cereal or something.
Right.
Which definitely affects it to some degree. Eating up just another 1,000 calories a day. Do it.
When I first started getting on the meds that worked, one of the things I noticed was I wasn't necessarily more or less hungry, but where before I might just not have the gumption or the energy to actually get up and do anything about it, that increase in energy was like, oh, I'm hungry. Let's go make a sandwich.
It's like, man, I wanted all this like motivation to do like productive things, not to suck in more calories.
And obviously it went too far with me. That was the one thing when I left the Air Force, I did try to get them to medically retire me that way, was because the weight, between my feet not working so I couldn't run, and the medicines I take which make it medically difficult to not eat. It's like, okay, I understand that I'm not the correct shape, literally, for the Air Force anymore, but you think maybe we can work something out, and that was something that they said that since the medical description of Zoloft, excuse me, I wasn't taking that, Wellbutrin says you could lose weight. Most people lose weight on Wellbutrin.
Weird.
But it does say in the little text that the opposite's also true. And also, most people on Wellbutrin need to take it at night because it makes them sleepy. It keeps me awake. So I take mine in the morning. So I'm one of the very rare who get some of the opposite side effects.
Gotcha.
But they wouldn't take that into account.
Well, that's too bad. I wonder if you can go back to the VA and try to have them adjust it in post,
Well, that's the thing, is the VA honestly gave me more than I expected. I just meant from the point of, because the VA has nothing to do with your retirement. They have to do with disability and the post-military career stuff.
Right. I just didn't know if they could affect that somehow.
Yeah. It kind of is what it is, and like I told you before, I was at a time in my life where it was really better for me to get out of the Air Force anyway, for other reasons as well.
Right.
So, no, I don't blame them at all. This would have been a little bit more convenient.
So what are you working on this morning?
I am drawing nicer lines. I can share it on that same thing I was playing on. I watched a little bit of the video, and I didn't tell you, but I tested the thing after I fixed the Bandicam, the recording.
Okay.
After I had fixed, when we talked a little bit after you came back. Oh, by the way, is Colin okay? Is he good?
Yeah, he's feeling much better today. No pain or anything.
But and it worked perfect. I mean, your audio is as good as mine, actually, coming through the thing now. But because I had you play, because I had you playing on the speakers out loud, my mic was still picking you up, and there was a little echo. So now I've got my headphones on to hear you, but I'm still using that same mic.
Oh, are we live right now? Or are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay, cool.
And then, so yeah, I have a feeling this one, and again, we'll just use this one as a test, but I think this one will be enough to proof of quality for the IT of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go like structured with it necessarily, but I think it'd be cool to like have like a basic flow. If we really did, a steady podcast, like kind of just points of conversation that if we bust, it doesn't really matter. But things like what, or like our art goals, how have we like met other art goals, and then the sort of like, I don't know what our inspiration is for the week. Maybe if there's like a artist or a video series or something. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think that's cool. I like the idea of having some topics to move to and from, but I also like the idea of whatever the in between stuff is what the in between stuff is.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm trying to think of it from a listener perspective. If we actually wanted people to listen, how would we do that? And I even think like a conversation like that would be interesting. It's a bit of a meta conversation. Like, this is our podcast. How do we get people to listen to a podcast? And
well, yeah, absolutely. In fact, at the beginning of a lot of podcast series, because Chrissy's like super into podcasts. I like them a lot, but she's got maybe 5 or 10 of them that she's.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot.
Regularly.
I can't keep up with them. Like when I start listening to podcasts or audiobooks, I lose out on my music, and like I go back and forth because I love listening to music as well. It's hard to do both.
Yeah,
there's only so many hours.
And she does listen to music occasionally, and I tend to listen to music more often than the podcasts. But she is by far more into the podcasts than the music.
Gotcha.
But anyway, when you listen to the very beginnings of when they start, like their first few episodes, there's often conversations like the one we're having.
Gotcha.
And then also another thing is later on there's little updates of the same conversation. Hey, these are things we've learned. That kind of stuff. But
you gotta seek those out and listen to a couple of them. It might be good to have those lessons learned in the back of our head.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the key and maybe the most important to me one, because it's what got in the way when I was going to try to make the YouTube series about the board games.
It's just doing it.
It's just do it. And then
yeah, I'm good with that as well, for sure. Yeah, I like the idea of just starting to record and just putting it out there and then improving as we go.
Yeah, for sure. And I like the idea that we talk about art, but that we don't get stuck on just that person.
Yeah. I mean, there's some conversations like how our D&D game went that are particularly interesting to us, and I think might be interesting to some people. But if you're not following the game, it's hard to. I think if you kept it general, like how did this encounter do? What were the best parts about it? Or kind of things. I think that might be interesting for people. But if we're like, oh, that thing that Dahlia did might not be specific enough to keep people interested.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually,
you think?
I think the demographic that we will probably get just because of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They will get and understand what's going on, and
sure.
maybe enough to where if we actually get to a point where people are listening and trying to communicate with us and stuff, they might ask questions. So, who's Dahlia? Who's this? Who's that? And
yeah, that'd be fun.
But I love listening to when like. Some of the ones Chrissy listens to, and a few of them are like some of the biggest ones there are. Last Podcast on the Left, which is strange stories and true crime type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they're three guys. One of them is one or two of them are actors / comedians.
Fun.
One of them does most of the work, so far as the research and stuff, and they just kind of banter about maybe a crime that occurred or an interesting this or an interesting that. But of course, the first part for me, though the stories are cool, it's just, you feel like you're one of the guys.
Gotcha. You're just kind of sitting in like as a fly on the wall almost.
Yeah. And the way they do it, and granted, they're professional entertainers and
Sure.
whatnot, but the way they do it, and especially once they get out, and we've met them, we've gone to their live shows and stuff.
Right.
They talk a lot about what the people say, and they talk, I don't want to say like they're not role-playing like you're literally there,
Mm-hmm.
but they're talking, and I know you listeners out there are thinking about this, and that's bullshit. And
Gotcha.
that kind of stuff. So it really does feel like you're kind of just hanging with some cool, fun guys. And I think so far as the charisma that you and I have, to whatever level you want to call that, I think the biggest part of it is
Sure.
the fact that we're multifaceted and I would say maybe a little bit uniquely, genuinely interested in so many things.
Yeah, well, I think you're giving me more credit than I deserve, but yeah, appreciate it.
So I've been boring you all this time?
No. Like, I guess I'm interested in the things you're doing, certainly. I mean, our biggest connections, for sure, I mean, aside from just being, I think, people that naturally get along for whatever the word for that is. I mean, we obviously have our art and the love of games.
I think they call that friends.
Yeah, friends, aside from just being friends. Sure. That's, yeah. I don't know. I wish I was more interested, I guess, is where my point was going, in more things. I feel like I get a little too two-dimensional sometimes.
Do you really?
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of video games, right? And I love games, right? That's a big field that I'm always interested in. But I wish I did more tabletop games for perspective. I just don't have people to play them with. I'd be interested in, like, seeing, like, the development cycles of those sorts of things, but I don't really seek it out.
Well, I don't necessarily mean stuff that you seek out and put a ton of energy in. I'm speaking along the lines of, I could bring up my opinion on Helen Keller, and you'll have an opinion on it, and you'll be able to speak intelligently to it. And
that's true. Yeah, I guess I do like conversation.
Yeah.
I think generally it's fun to take your mind and wrap it around some topic, like, the unfortunate situation of Helen Keller, and then, like, imagine and try to empathize with that situation. I think that's, part of being human, certainly. Maybe that's not interesting to everybody. I guess, is that your point, that we are particularly...
No, my point is I think it is interesting to everybody, but I think most people shy away from having conversations. I mean, there's a lot of things that you and I talk about that we don't even agree on that we can still have conversations with and about.
Sure.
that So where you're saying that you feel you're stuck on your topics, I really kind of feel one of my favorite things about you is that you're not. If I bring something up, you don't just change the subject, which I've got
That's true.
lots of friends who do.
Gotcha. I like talking to you is the I think is the core thing there. If you wanted to talk about, like, the milling process for, like, the handles of guns, I'd be interested in hearing you talk about it. Yeah, which is something I would never, like, sit down and listen to, like, a podcast or something.
And that's how I feel about it too. And that's one of my favorite things about you is that
Gotcha.
you're a great conversationalist. And
Yeah.
one of the things I told Ron Aka about when
Yeah, I know, Ron.
was kind of introducing the concept of you to him was that you come off as ridiculously chill and almost pliable is the impression you give, but you're also one of the most stubborn people I know. So you seem pliable, but you're not nearly as pliable as you seem, and that's another thing I really like about when we talk is because, I've got other friends and other people because I can tend to be, I don't want to say intimidating, but at least dominating in the way I talk.
You've got a big personality, yeah. I'll agree
that if I say no, that's I don't agree, that's stupid, and they'll immediately change their tune, and you won't. You'll stand up, and not stand up in a confrontational way. It's like, yeah, but I disagree with you, and that's another one of my favorite things about you is that I don't want to be as, I don't know what the word is, aggressive as I guess I seem when I get passionate about things, but I also can't help it, and you're not intimidated by that at all. You're you. And
I think, well, yeah, if you ever hear me and my mother have a conversation, people often think we're fighting because she's a staunch conservative, right? I just don't agree, and she and I, she drags me into it, I feel like, but people tend to argue not from logic but from an emotional standpoint,
right?
And she drags me into that, I can't help but fight back. So I guess I'm used to having, we never get to the level that she and I will get to. It'll be so funny, people will be like, guys, you need to calm down. Well, what are you talking about? And then the conversation will drop and it'll be like it never happened kind of thing.
Right. So my best friend Bob, I've talked to you about him plenty, but
yeah,
he's like that. His family doesn't have those type of argument, but not in the form of angry, just those types of discussions. And then when I would have those, he would feel really uncomfortable. Also, Cole is like that. Cole doesn't like even if I'm just teasing Chrissy about something, but he thinks it's serious, he's like, you guys don't need to be fighting. Not right now. It's like, okay.
Yeah. All of your kids seem like good kids. Cole, I think, is the one I've talked to the least, though.
Well, Cole's the one everybody talks to the least. Him being on the spectrum. Bring up Pokemon. You'll get all of it you want. Or Dragon Ball Z, which is freaking so much. I've learned so much about Dragon Ball Z that I didn't even want to know.
It's so curious that's what he decided to get into. That is an anime that's, I think, most popular amongst people my age, right?
Really?
The fact that it's so... Yeah, because growing up, it would be on after school, right? It's Ninja Turtles or something. It's just something I grew up with. It was in its prime when I was middle school to high school.
Right.
So it's still it's influenced, anime in a huge way, right? Most action animes have very similar story arc styles, the way Dragon Ball Z does. A lot of talking about how the fight is going and who's going to win and why. Audiences watching it and then talking about it. That's a big Dragon Ball Z thing.
Yeah, I can see the timeline getting him there. Getting you there, but I think his introduction into it was because he had friends that were role-playing it on Minecraft.
What?
Yeah.
You can role-play DBZ on Minecraft?
I don't know if you looked at Cole's YouTube channel, but he's got hours of video content of...
That's awesome.
Episodes of him literally animating and producing Dragon Ball Z-based content using Minecraft as a animation tool. Just hours of it.
That's so cool.
But yeah, I definitely see, that would be your age bracket of this is what was cool at the time.
Sure, yeah, I just someone closer to his age, I expect more of like a Naruto fan base
Right.
or something, you know.
Naruto came out after Dragon Ball Z?
Oh yeah, by years.
I didn't know that. I thought Naruto was first. It's what I knew about first.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a quick Google and figure out the timelines. DVD episode 1.
Because my ex watched Naruto a lot, and the boys were interested in that as well. The funny thing is even though we're kind of talking about it as a anime type thing, I wouldn't say Cole's into anime. He knows what it is,
Sure.
but I don't think he cares at all that it's anime. I think he cares that it's for martial arts, and I think he cares that it's what him and his
Right.
friends do.
And I get that. Yeah, like as the community thing comes together. So yeah, DBZ episode 1 aired in 1989, and Naruto aired 2007.
Holy Moses.
220. Sorry, aired between it ended in 2007. It started in 2002.
I had no idea.
Yeah, the original Dragon Ball, if you ever watch, the original Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z, is way more cartoony and goofy.
Oh, okay.
And that came out in like the early 80s. I remember watching episodes of it. That's when Goku was a kid. But then like even the original DBZ stuff, all like the animation is really hard to watch from a modern lens.
The only thing I've ever seen of it is either little clips that Cole showed me on YouTube, and then Cole wanted to go see. What did you say his name was?
It's like the Broly or something?
Yeah, the Broly movie when that came out. So
Sure.
we went and saw that in the theater, but that's all I've ever seen of it.
Did you enjoy it?
Actually, I wouldn't say I. If you said, "Hey, you want to go watch it now?" There's no chance I would say yes.
Sure.
But I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. You know, Broly's a relatively interesting character, but that Dragon Ball Z formula you're talking about the fight scenes and them talking,
Mhm.
I loathe it.
Yeah, it's not as popular in the West unless you're among people that like anime, I guess, fans. It's not, but I mean,
But the character of Broly, and I got to see that there was a lot more thought and effort put into the backstory of what's going on in the world, as it were, or worlds, because it's not just one. I got to connect with Cole and understand what he was doing a little bit better. Right now,
Sure.
one of my biggest things is Cole is such a creative, and he's so good at making these animations and these stories, and he likes it so much. But he's definitely, if he tried to publish or make any type of profit off of anything that he's done, he would definitely get a call from somebody saying, "Oh, copyright guy, you're literally just stealing."
is there no like fair use type stuff for? I mean, I guess I don't know the first thing about any of that industry.
Well, I'm sure there's fair use, but to do it that way, it would be for education and whatnot. It would be like,
I'm making like parody almost, like Weird Al gets away with, just using people's songs for parody.
You could argue parody with what he's doing, just because maybe you don't get a sense of humor, but it's not. It's definitely not parody. So it would be like akin to somebody just trying to write something in the Star Wars universe and using all the Star Wars ships and
Oh, I gotcha. Like a fan fiction, basically.
yeah, it's exactly what it is.
I mean, to
And I think he was calling it Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Heroes Arise, I think is the name of his series. But and it's about a band of heroes that are new. They just Dragon Ball, that world, that everything, but it's a new set of heroes. And
Gotcha.
and then somebody tried to start explaining to him the idea of the copyright and stuff. So he's like, "Okay, great. I'll change it to Dragon Block Z since it's in Minecraft." and now it's mine. It's like, yeah, okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can almost do, because, like, if I understand it, the story correctly, right? Twilight was, just or no, not Twilight. 50 Shades of Grey was a Twilight fan fiction that she just changed all the character names in, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
If
I understand that story correctly, but yeah, 50 Shades of Grey was apparently started initially as a Twilight fan.
I had
and it
no
gained
idea.
such popularity. I don't know the veracity of that story, but now that I'm saying it, let me check.
I wonder if that main guy, because I don't know anything except for, of course, the cliche stuff you saw on, in
Right.
the media. I wonder if that guy was initially supposed to be a vampire.
Let's see. Much Christian Grey was once a fictionalized version of Edward Cullen Wand.
Yeah. That
What's
is.
a wand? What the fuck is a wand?
That's the number preceding two.
The word is W-A-N. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
And wand. Gammy and Anastasia Steele with wands. Fanfic has long since disappeared from the internet, but PDFs of it still remain floating around. So yeah, no. Apparently, according to AV Club, the writer Mara Eakin says that apparently it was a fan fiction that was all over the internet, but it's been deleted for the most part. But it's still floating around in PDFs you can find.
Wow. I wonder if there was any type of legal battle over it, or if they just said, okay, she changed it enough to where now it's not that, so what can we do? Then it's just inspired by, I guess.
So, oh wow, yeah, so there is... Okay. The original story was called Master of the Universe. That was the original fan fiction story.
Okay.
And he just basically rewrote it, changing names. Anyways, that's interesting. I never, look up to see if these rumors are true. I just assume they are. Like,
Oh,
I don't want to say an idiot, but...
I am so lazy about that. The only time I really will look it up is if I'm going to publish it or post something online. But
yeah, if we weren't recording, I might not have. But then I thought, man, if anybody does listen to this, I want to at least show that I looked at it, gave it some. Because I hate, I give so much shit to, popular news sites for, just posting things without double-checking any of their information sources.
Right.
I figure I ought to at least give it a quick Google and see, if there's, any accuracy to it.
Yeah, my tactic instead of that is just to say, I'm a dumbass, and if you choose to believe me, that's your fault.
Put it on the listener.
Yeah.
That's right, future me, if you're listening to it, that's how you blame the listener.
Alright, let me zoom out on this thing and see if it reads. It reads a lot more cartoony, which is kind of what I was going for than the last thing I did.
Yeah, do you ever do that thing where you basically just silhouette it, darken in everything that would be, have form and leave out the negative space and then zoom out at it?
Yeah, I do that usually as the next step, which is basically I use what you're talking about as a clipping mask as well. So I get to this point and then I make the clipping mask and I'll back it out. Hey, mister! If that cat rips your eye out, it's your fault.
Yeah. That dog bark, Mister there is very loud here. We would have to edit that down significantly before I think submitting this. You can do that, right? Because you said you used to work in the digital audio
Oh yeah,
spaces or whatever.
No worries at all.
Go in, just it almost sounds like it just needs to be filtered into a pop filter or something.
Yeah, I
lower that peak.
Basically the idea would be that we would sit here more or less quietly listening to the environment for a little bit, and then make a loop of that in the background that, people wouldn't notice. And then when there's
Right.
stuff you want to delete, like you delete that little tiny bit, and then it would just sound like the background noises there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember I took an audio for games class. Only the first 2 weeks of it, I had to drop it because that's right when I got hired to a low voltage job.
Yeah.
But yeah, they taught us about like recording and sounds and stuff for that sort of thing. It was kind of interesting. But we had those bi-directional, like kind of crisscross microphones. Got
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this little Yeti mic, it's not the quality of the stuff like my studio mics that got stolen, because this is all I have now. But it's plenty good enough for almost anything that you would do that's, semi-pro.
What happened to your studio mics? I don't know about your stuff getting stolen.
Oh yeah, my storage unit got broken into, and
Oh.
I had probably close to $20,000 worth of audio equipment stolen.
Damn, man.
So, that sucked. But I don't do it enough, to make it worthwhile to try to replace any of it or
Right.
anything like that. So,
When we moved to Colorado, one of my goals when we're looking for a house is finding one with a space we can use as like shared office space.
right.
So that'll help sort of with the audio as well. I want to get like one room that we can close off because Carolyn, for whatever reason, finds it's annoying that I ask her to like keep it down when we're playing D&D and stuff. She's like, "It's my house. I'll be loud if I want." Like, come on. I hate imposing on people, especially if I don't know them. Like, I'll impose on friends and family for whatever reason. It's not that big of a deal, but when I'm playing in a group of people and I know that like it's disruptive to a group of people, I feel terrible about it.
Right. I don't think that it's an issue at all, and I could actually. I'm kind of more on Carolyn's end. You want quiet? Go someplace else. But
That's what I'm saying. I want to find an office. I want to
Yeah.
find the next house we buy is going to have an office that I can close up, and that way, if I'm doing something like this too, we can record without a ton of extra audio. That way, if we get to the point where we're actually editing down audio,
Right.
it saves us some work. And when I say saves us, if you can show me how to do that stuff online, I'm totally willing to do the audio editing as well.
Yeah, no worries. It's not hard. It's like you were saying, you look at Photoshop and it initially looks intimidating, but then once you
Mhm.
know what it is, it's like,
Right.
you ignore 90% of it and use the 10% that you know.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I like learning new softwares and programs and stuff, especially if I've got a teacher. I'm not good at teaching myself. I need to be shown things before I feel comfortable playing with them.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's good. It's a good stopping point. Go for it.
I have no problems experimenting and learning and failing,
Mhm.
but I definitely prefer to have a teacher.
I don't know. It's so strange. I worry about not being able to do something well. I think is maybe what it is. I don't really have a good guess as to why I don't just go and not worry about not doing a good job with the software I don't know. Right?
There's a lot of people like that. It's that performance anxiety of, hey, this is going to be frustrating. I don't know how to do it. I don't know why. It's a blessing in a way that my whole life I don't remember actively being taught, but I've always known that failure is the biggest part of learning, and maybe because
Right.
I failed so much, it's just, okay, I'm going to fail publicly at this a lot, and so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I wish it didn't. Like it's so frustrating when logically I understand, right? That's the best teacher, is to just try and do a thing, not do it as well as you'd like to, and figure out why it's not as good as you'd want it to be, and then try to fix it from there, right? That's how you do anything.
Right.
It's hard.
I wonder.
Like, I just feel
wonder if
overwhelmed by
A
it.
paradigm would be, instead of looking at the parts that you failed, look at smaller chunked successes. It's, hey, it's not that this piece failed. It's, hey, I figured out that if I make this silhouette and use it as a clipping mask, it's easier. That's cool.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that. You feel... Our relationship with art is weird. I'm sure it is for a lot of artists.
Yeah. And for me, it's not... That attitude is life. Well, that's not fair. Socially, I have such social anxiety over what if I make a mistake in front of people. They're going to immediately decide I'm done. And this person's stupid. He doesn't know how to use Photoshop. But for me, it's not Photoshop. It's he told a bad joke. Or
Right. I've had moments of, like, telling a joke that wasn't funny and then not being able to, like, get over it for weeks and, like, replaying it in my head like a PTSD bad memory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've definitely... And then, like, I'll mention that, man, I feel so bad about that, and people will be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Well, it's eating me up inside. I can't.
Well, here, let's relive it together.
Yeah.
Trying to get that silhouette you were talking about put in right now, actually.
Yeah. Do you, like, darken it down to, like, pure black to take a look at it?
No, usually just about a mid-tone gray.
Mm.
And I'll turn the line off. I actually quite like when you watch Cynics or any of those folks that talk about less about painting and more about design. And hey, we're going to come up with this silhouette first that looks neat, and then we're just going to build into it.
Right.
I struggle feeling okay coming up with the silhouette, but given a silhouette, I love, just kind of putting the details and trying to stay inside the lines.
Right, yeah, we did that with those weird shapes before, right?
Mhm.
Digital shapes. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I don't know why the other side of it is difficult for me, the abstract side, but that's been me. I mean, that's something I've always said about your art. Abstraction is something I've always struggled with. I just don't feel comfortable doing it.
That's another thing maybe we could do on the podcast. I think might be fun, right? If we did this Art Buddy podcast, is if we each... I'm taking notes now. Silhouette painting, or if we come up with a silhouette and then we each draw on it for like 15-20 minutes throughout the podcast post we did, and then also post the silhouette file.
Oh, the same silhouette?
Yeah, or we each,
that would be
kind of
really
like we did
interesting.
before.
Yeah.
Silhouette painting, and then and like I said, posting it to, I don't know, a community if we build that up.
Yeah. Or, Facebook or Instagram or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
I think
really
that would
neat.
be a lot of fun.
I would be I'm always super curious to see how you have the same description or the same parameters and how different things still turn out.
Yeah, I still want to finish my drawing of that little... I need to go back and do that.
You cut out that little...
Your little old lady.
yeah.
Crunchy granny woman.
Yeah, I was having fun with those gnomish characters, but I didn't want to trap myself there, so...
Yeah, I mean, once again, I would love like a little storybook set in like these. They're almost like Smurfy, just not blue, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of, I like that setting. I really like the I don't know. I've never been a part of a community like that, but just like a bunch of chill old hippies hanging out.
Yeah, I've never been a part of that community either, but I do like the idea, obviously.
Yeah.
It's funny how when I just used one size brush, but I turned the lines off here now, and how sloppy that silhouette looks comparatively.
Yeah, the reeds still. I feel like almost all of it reads. Maybe I wouldn't like. I think the end of the beard I might think is a ponytail.
Right. And then the
sword hilt.
The dagger in front of the sword hilt kind of reads almost like it's a hand guard.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that it was part of it. And if I didn't know it was a drum, I might be confused about that.
But I think it's clear he's holding something.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe like a keg or something, and like he's...
Well, it could be the head of his last girlfriend, and he's about to slap it again.
Oh. You know, one thing, and I'm not, once again, I don't want this to seem like negative at all. When I started doing the D&D thing with you, I did not expect it to get as dark as you tend to get.
Yeah, I've noticed it's gone dark a few times, but...
I mean, I like it. There is a level of realism that comes with that. You know, it's not like we sit around and dwell on it. We're not like a bunch of goth kids, but, you know, life is light and dark. You gotta have both.
Yeah, without both, you don't appreciate the other, and so, you know.
Yeah.
How could you appreciate saving a girl if you don't have a lizard eat the half of the other one?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, there was the guy that writes the Dritz, R.A. Salvatore.
Yeah, I know.
Like, most of his books aren't, like, you know, there's, like, struggles and moments and stuff, but most of them aren't, like, what I would consider dark. But then he's got some short stories where, like, you get introduced in, like, the first bit to this, like, group of happy-go-lucky dwarf miners, and this dwarf, like, walks over into a marsh to start filling up a water thing to filter out, and then a black dragon comes up and sprays him with its breath, and then he goes into gruesome detail about how it just melts this dude into a pool of, you know, dwarf soup, basically. Like, oh, it got dark real fast.
But you now know the ability of that dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like stuff like that. I tend to like, I don't know, darker shows and stuff as well. I'm sort of drawn to it. Like, I've been watching, or I watched the two, I think I might have talked to you already, Barry, Bill Hader show, where he's an assassin that decides he wants to become an actor instead.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah, it's really good, but it's also quite... I don't know, maybe dramatic or intense. I'm not sure. It's both funny and dark, which I kind of enjoy.
I don't tend to like super dark things. I don't know. I think Game of Thrones did a really good job of, I guess, making it to where you actually know the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
right. Everybody's mortal in that. Anybody could die.
And that's kind of what I was going for, but I agree. Especially after playing in that other campaign with Matt and Chrissy and their gang. I was like, yeah, mine's way more dark and serious than this.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's child prostitution. I mean, right off the bat puts you way into the deep end.
Yeah, I guess I did kind of just go there, didn't I?
Yeah, once again, though, I mean, like, if I'm putting myself in the settings of that time period, right, I mean, it makes sense, and it seems like this is, like, the darkness that lies within humanity. It doesn't, like, I like playing in that space, as uncomfortable as it is.
Yeah, and I think my hope when I put that in there was knowing that, you know, we have, how to say it, varying levels of organized morality in our group. You know, religion, culture, all that kind of stuff. I was more thinking along the lines of, from a observer's perspective, it'd be interesting to watch and see how you guys as a group chose to deal with it.
Right.
And I wasn't
I get
disappointed.
That. Yeah. Yeah, it took a little while. I definitely went in, like, you know, just dipping my toes in first to, like, really feel out what was happening. But
yeah, and that's one of the things Gabe actually brought up to me, that when I kind of told him the same thing I just told you, but he's like, I get that, but that was the first time we really kind of met each other. Maybe that's something you save for a little later. It's like,
Sure,
oh,
yeah, that's a valid.
Yeah, that probably would have been better. But it's not how it happened.
Yeah, and once again, I think it's great. I like your campaign so far. I say so far, like I think you're going to ruin it at some point, but
no, I do. I do intend to keep some real life situations going on, but I do also intend to make at least the tone a bit lighter. But I do definitely want to keep that what you just said, the stakes, the hey, if there's a monster near the person you're protecting, and not even because you did something wrong, but because timing didn't work out right, well, you got to worry about it.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I really thought Hex had a chance to be, killed, and not like just KO'd, like because she was at like less than half health when she was into that dragon in the lizard's mouth. Mm-hmm. I mean, a dragon basically. Come on, it's the size of a small dragon.
Yeah,
but yeah, and at what point I was like, this is the first D&D character I think I've ever been attached to. She would have been the only one I would have cared about dying. Before I'd been like, well, time to re-roll. But I like Hex.
Yeah, Hex is pretty cool. I watched the video, and I didn't really think about this because I haven't really been in that situation too much playing 5th edition yet. Mm-hmm. But it is, by the book, ridiculous. It's not really easy to die unless you have a TPK.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not that whole that if you do, well, it's not in the book, the whole if, they do enough damage to double your hit points, you're dead.
Oh, I didn't realize that, actually. I thought the instant kill stuff was still there.
No, it's not. But, now to dash your hopes, I think that instant kill stuff needs to be there, so there's no reason as a DM that I can't and will. No, that stuff's still there. But in the current setting, if you're unconscious, basically the way I'm going to play it is you're dead or you're unconscious at 0, but until you get to 2 times your hit points, there's still a hope, unless there's been some sort of disembodiment of, something ridiculous.
Right.
You can't grow the lower half of your body back.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, I mean, I like the idea of, like, losing an arm. I wouldn't mind playing a one-armed Hex.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to kind of... I don't like, typically, in D&D, when people start trying to, like, side quest themselves and stuff, or exploring, like, one person's backstory more or whatever, but I would be interested at some point doing stuff with her, like Hexblade patron.
Oh, yeah.
Mind. I just don't really know how to even feed stuff to you for it, Well, so I don't know what the name of the Hexblade is. I haven't even come up with, like, who the patron really is.
You can write me some backstory stuff, and I would be glad to look at it. What I would warn against is don't be too specific. I mean, sure, names and whatnot, but if you're too specific, of course, it hamstrings me, which is one of the things I've dealt with before, where somebody's like, hey, this is this and this and this and this, and this is exactly what I want and exactly what I like. And it's like, great. Now you've taken any real opportunity for me to be creative from the situation, which in James's book means you're not getting any of that.
Yeah, I don't think you got to worry about that with me. I like D&D's. I don't want to play out a story that I've already written either. I want it to be a dynamic exploration with several people, right? I don't want to feel like I'm controlling it.
That's exactly how I prefer to. But yeah, I mean, I think that even if you wanted on a side note, we could just, hey, Hex is going to go do some things, on the in-between of these 2 games, and then we could do a one-on-one or something.
Yeah. I think the general idea was that I have a fragment of the sword, and that the sword wants to be put back together,
Oh,
if I remember. Like, I think I pictured, like, this monastery with this, like, hilt with a broken blade attached to it, and then, like, there's Hex is part of, like, probably a small cabal of other warlocks that are all pick up pieces
mm-hmm.
for it. You know,
Oh, and now
but
I'm thinking
yeah.
of all sorts of things I can do just with that.
yeah, like she's got like 2 or 3, maybe up to 5 or 6 other like people out there, and where she's not really. I guess it's not a priority for her, but like the sword only asks that, you know, if you find more, that you bring them back, basically, right?
Right.
That allows me to continue playing a story without it being like, no, guys, we have to find my sword piece, do what I need to do. You know,
Yeah.
kind of mentality.
I really like the idea that Ron came up with about, okay, hey, instead of you guys going everywhere, which you guys will travel plenty, but we're going to have a city, and, you know, things are going to come to you, but also, you know, we want to establish ourselves. I think that's...
So that was Ron's idea? Because I didn't know how much influence he had on the game beforehand.
Yeah, so starting the whole game was basically, we had talked about it before, but I hadn't been quite ready. And
Gotcha.
Ron came up to me, and he's like, hey, I was thinking, because he was going through his garage and found his D&D stuff, a cool campaign would be, you know, if we were trying, and he brought up Waterdeep. I was like, yeah, but it can't be Waterdeep because...
It's way bigger than a few people could hold.
And then he came back and he's like, yeah, and there's these cities that are already in the Sword Coast and blah, blah, blah. And if we just, you know, kind of tried to establish ourselves there. And I was like, that's got so much cool potential just for role-play intrigue and political intrigue and all this stuff. And I was like, you know, if you want to run that, I would be down. And he's like, well, I don't want to run it. I want to play it. I was like, well, if you want to give me the idea...
That's smart. He's got to make it your idea that you came up with, that you run it.
Yeah. So,
that's cool. I didn't realize he had the influence like that.
Yeah. And then from there, I mean, even after the very first day, you know, like you said, with the things with honey and whatnot, he's like, oh, that wasn't where I expected you to start us.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did. But that's great, right? You don't want to start exactly where you expected to start, necessarily.
And I do...
Expectations being broken is part of the fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think that he was expecting progress to be a lot faster than I was. It's like, hey, you know, he wants to eventually be, you know, from his initial brief, I should say. I don't know what Aka's current... But he wants you guys to be in charge of the city council of guilds. And then...
Oh, I see.
And then maybe even try to use that to leverage some power into the bigger cities.
Right, not control Waterdeep, but be someone that can at least hold some power there.
Right. and I completely could see that happening, but it's like, hey, you're not even in the Taverners Guild yet. You got some work to do before...
Right.
And realistically, in our game, I think, we might be able to say have been there a week or so?
Yeah, not long.
Yeah, so you guys have definitely made your presence known in the amount of time you've been there.
Yeah. Probably overstepped our bounds as new tavern owners a little bit.
But I'm excited. I mean, I've got all sorts of subplots going on in my head, and what I'm really liking about it is because I can know that you guys are going to go back to Daggerford.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things can connect that maybe you don't know are connecting, or, you know, hey, here's a tiny hint in this one session that has nothing to do necessarily with what you're doing currently, but when we get to the other point, if you make 2 and 2 connect, oh, we already were introduced to this in concept. That kind of stuff. I really
Gotcha.
I love that from a GM perspective.
So Carolyn always likes me to do like wrap ups and stuff when I was running my game, and I was running this sort of like Eldritch Horror type thing on a ship at first, where like there is this like fallen god or whatever that's trying to take, and he summoned in something bigger and more powerful than he could control, and it's been locked away in this like sort of like alternate dimension in this like on this island that was basically warped out of existence.
Oh, wow.
And so at the end, I would always be like, and so it started with like a murder mystery, which I don't know why I started the murder mystery. I don't know the first thing about murder mysteries. But then like there was going to be some subterfuge. Basically, like the weave of magic had kind of been shredded, and like pieces of it had been lost. And part of it was needed in order for this entity to reconnect the island to the normal dimension in order for it to escape. And so it had subtly influenced people through like a leak to create like these like cabals, once again these little cultist groups. And one of the cultist groups had gotten a hold of one of these threads that they were using to power this new boat, this new Titanic style like mega boat, and the cultists wanted to lead it towards the island and then like, you know, basically give itself over to its master. So it started with a murder mystery in order to sabotage where the boat was going. And then, like, at the end, I'd be like, and then in the distance, we see a large, ominous shadow from the surface of the tentacles thrashing. Its hunger, like, voracious, and things like that.
Man, I wish I could have that kind of drama in a story. I try.
Yeah. I just tried to do a little bit, like, post. Like, like, for your halfling thing, I might have been like, and then in the side room, the halfling says, "Are they gone yet?" And then the lizard king or whatever like cackles. They better hope they are. It's stupid like that. It'd always just be like 4 or 5 sentences, you know.
Right.
It was like a little post-credit scene, like, you know, like just like shows that leave you with cliffhangers do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good idea, actually.
Well, like even if I had forgotten to do something, Carolyn would always remind me, and I'd have to come. She liked the little post-credit scenes.
She's like,
and I won't have to come up with it on the spot.
We're not quite done yet, sir.
Yeah. And my wife, you know, she's the worst.
I mean, I can't see how you even managed to hang around with her.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, buddy, what's up? Oh yeah, my son says your drawing is.
Well,
that's Mr. Gibson.
Thank you, Colin.
Here, you want to say hi?
Hey, Mr. Gibson.
Hey, Colin, how are you doing, buddy?
Good.
What you been up to?
Just having like a normal morning.
Oh,
breakfast and toilet time.
Normal mornings are good sometimes, don't you think?
Uh-huh.
I agree. Oops. So you like my drawing?
Uh-huh.
What?
He has a gun, a drum, and he has his arm up in the air like he's about to smack the drum.
I'm glad that you could tell that that's why his arm's in the air. I was trying very hard to make sure people knew that's what he was doing.
He's like this, Dad. Look.
Are you still drawing a lot?
No.
I still have the drawing you did when we went to Renaissance Festival on my fridge.
The bill?
You drew a picture of all of us standing there with swords.
Only time.
Go ahead.
The only time I remember drawing is is the bill at the Renaissance Fair.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we can go to a Renaissance fair again sometime. I thought that was really fun. Did you like that?
Uh-huh.
Me too.
With the kunai.
Man, you remember the kunai. I don't even remember what that was called. Oh.
Kunai and chain.
Yep. It was good stuff. Hopefully all this stuff that's going on in the world right now settles down so we still get to go. I forgot to draw a shirt on this guy. He's just wearing his armor.
Imagine this, Dad.
Sure. Alright, here, give me a hug and go play. You can go play. It's Memorial Day, so it's a holiday today.
It's amazing when you realize something like, I forgot to draw a shirt on this guy.
Oh, I see he's got the vest on.
Yeah, that's supposed to be his leather armor.
Mmm.
So I need to draw a shirt under it. And I intend to have him have a cloak, but I don't intend to draw it in this drawing.
Yeah, but one of the things that's great about digital and I like doing is I'll draw like this exact pose, and then like once I'm done with it, like draw the cloak over top of it. You know, that way you can have
both.
one with and one. Yeah,
For sure. I sat there for probably 15 minutes last night in that little bit that we did record, just moving the video slider back and forth like it was a speed painting, watching all the little adjustments I was making to the sketch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes like I've shown you like one of the drawings I did in Procreate was a half orc. I love the fact that I can go back through and turn layers on and off and just like look at the differences.
Yeah, I
how
really
they
think that's
emerge.
cool. All right, buddy. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and get off. I'm actually hungry and I haven't eaten anything yet today.
Right on, man. Well, it was good talking to you. I had fun.
Yeah, me too. What I might do is go ahead and process this down into into a video, and I'll post it on YouTube, but I won't publish it. I'll just send you a link, and you can see and hear it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you want to post it, I don't have any qualms with that.
Okay. Well, I'll just post it, and then it'll be what it is.
Right on, dude. All right. I will talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks for hanging out.
Yep. Bye bye.